Welcome to Vancouver Carpenter. So, your door won't close because it's stuck on the floor. This is a super common problem. So what you're going to need for this is a straight edge, so like a level or a straight piece of wood, a skill saw, and the ability to use a skill saw. If you don't know how to use a skill saw well, I'll link some videos to using that. But assuming you do, the next thing you're going to need to do is figure out how much of the door you want to cut off and where. So it's not always as simple as just cutting a 1/4 inch off the door, because as we can see here, we have about 1/8 of space here, and it's super tight here. So we're gonna have to make this cut on an angle if we want to keep an even line under the door. So what I have right here is a shim with one end having the space I want, which is about 3/8 of an inch. So what we can do here is I'm just gonna sort of push it down into the carpet a little bit. I'm gonna make one mark right here. I'm now going to go to this spot and again push with about the same pressure, and I'm going to make one mark right there. So what I can see is I have almost 3/8 here, and I have about a small 1/4 inch right here. Just a real quick editor's note here. If the floor is so high that you can't even get the door on, then where you measure from is your hinges. So what you would do is you would measure from your floor. And so right now I have 9 5/8 to my hinge. So I'm just simply going to take 3/8 off of that. So I will then have 9 1/4. I will then measure down 9 1/4 from this hinge, and that will give me the right height. Next we're going to need to take the door off, and I'm just going to put this shim to kind of support this side so that it doesn't slump down as I start to pull the hinge pins. So getting right to the hinge pins, what you're going to want is a nail punch and a hammer. So you can also unscrew the door, but I find this to be the fastest, easiest way. The bottom one is the hardest, and you usually have to use your hammer on the flat and give it a few good hits before it loosens. So this one wasn't too bad. The older they are, the harder it can be. And hopefully you can pull it out by hand, but that's not always the case. What I often do in that case is I'll take the claw of my hammer and I'll very gently put it here. You want to be careful not to scratch the door and the trim doing this, but this can help. And then you can pull that out. These can often be greasy, so you might not want to put them directly on the carpet. I often put them in my back pocket, so I have them when I'm ready to put these back on. Before you pull out the top one, get your hands free. And because I propped up the bottom side of this, this is sitting pretty nice and level. It's not wanting to fall over and push the hinges over right now. The pins are gone in the bottom too. So now I got a free hand. I can really quickly pull that off. And if you have solid core doors, you might want to get some help with this. These are solid core. I'm able to handle them. But if you have back problems or anything, they can be really heavy. Hollow core doors are easy, and my phone is ringing. Filming faux pas number 1. Oh. Okay. Next, you're going to want to get some benches set up somewhere that you can bring this to. Somewhere that you can cut this. Okay, if you're a bit of a hero, you can get away with just now marking your 2 lines and cutting it with a skill saw. But you gotta have a really good cut, and I would recommend having it on this side. And you know, I do that sometimes, but I mess up occasionally too, and then you're stuck with either trying to fill it or sand out that little bit of a wavy line. So it can be done, but it's risky. So if you don't want to take that risk, then you're going to have to cut with a straight edge. First thing you should figure out is what is the offset from your saw. So these cordless ones are 1 1/4 inches. So from the edge of this base to my saw blade is 1 1/4 inches. Most corded skill saws are 1.5 inches, but check your saw. Next, I am going to go 1 1/4 inches up from here. This is where I will place the straight edge, and 1 1/4 inches up from here. put your straight edge on those marks. Clamp it nice and snug. Okay, now here's a really important part. Do not let your saw slip like this, because all of a sudden you're going to have an angled cut on your door and it's going to be wavy and way taller on the other side. So hopefully I have a charged enough battery here. I've just made a big boo-boo here, you guys. One thing you should know is that if your saw has been abused at all, which apparently mine has, and the base isn't square to the blade, and you start going along a straight edge, it's not gonna work. That's what just happened to me. So now I have to make a bigger cut than I planned. And I'm gonna have to freehand it. So it's a really good idea to know that your tools are square. Now this is the first time this has failed me, so this obviously just happened recently. So how are we gonna fix this? Now this is a straight cut and I'm gonna have an uneven gap. So I think I'm gonna go for a slightly bigger gap. What I'm gonna do is I am now gonna do 1/8 of an inch here to nothing where my cut is. So we're splitting the difference here. Splitting hairs, and this is gonna be a tricky cut too. But basically I'm gonna have a 1/2 inch gap now. And I'm gonna have to freehand it like a hero. Actually looks pretty good, but freehanding it can leave a slightly inconsistent cut. So what I do to make up for that is grab some sandpaper and just put a bevel on that edge. Once you put a little bevel on that, it really helps hide any inconsistencies. So as you can see, this was the underside where the saw was boo-booing a little bit. But again, that's what I'm talking about you put that bevel on it and it can hide a lot. Really helps that it's at toe level. Unless someone's rolling around on the floor, they're not gonna see it. Next, it's obviously time to rehang the door, so I gotta go get the door. Don't forget to pay attention to which side is up and down when you bring it back, especially these heavy ones. Okay, next it is hinge pin time. And that can be a bit of a challenge. So first I'm going to set it on those shims that I have down there. They're going to help hold it up a little bit closer to height. So it's not tall enough yet, actually. So I'm going to make those shims a bit taller so I don't have to lift so much. I find the shims are a big help. You know, one of those crazy door pumps would actually be a really good idea. I'm going to link one. I'll show you guys a picture and link one. Those are smart. I don't own one. But for doors any heavier than this, they are a really good plan. Okay, I'm almost lined up here. There we go. I got one lined up because I had the shims to hold it up. There's one. There's two. Pull the shims. Get out, shims. And you just have to manipulate the door to get the last one to line up. Okay, that's good. They're all in. Tappy tap tap. Careful not to hit your door and trim. Alright, now let's take a look at that and see how the freehand cut looks. Am I a hero or a zero? Well, overall I'm pretty happy with it, although it wound up just a little bit taller on this side than this side. You know what though, if nobody ever pointed it out, I don't think it would ever be a problem. But guess what? The homeowner watches this channel. So we'll find out what they think. You know, the door's gonna stay like this most of the time anyways, so no big deal. Who am I kidding? That cut sucked. Don't be a hero. If I had tried to do it right from the start as a freehand, it might have been acceptable, but trying to salvage it, no, that was awful. That's better. Well, that's how you cut down a door when things don't all go as planned. So I can already hear all the internet experts who never make mistakes. But you know what? I'm not making videos for those guys anyways. I'm making videos for the people who enjoy seeing the whole process, who like that I leave in the mistakes, and who are learning something from it. So to all of you, I want to say thank you for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. I'm pretty stoked to be doing this for you guys. So till the next video. Don't know what it's going to be or when, but it will be. So thanks for being there. See you guys. Oh, and one last thing. Make sure your skill saw is square. That sucked. I've had that happen to me before years ago. Never happens to my trusty old DeWalt, but I've had 2 Makitas that have gone out of square. Just saying.